Welcome back again. I'm Gareth with Flint Hills Briar. Still codgering along through the Great Codger Challenge 2023. Today I'm smoking my Boone Cob, obviously. Same old Shelby Foot Codger blend mixture. Figured I'd come out here and enjoy a pipe in the back garden before it might start raining, but if it does, I'll just move to the front porch. Finally getting some spring rain around here. It's nice that the weather is usually somewhat conducive, at least to going outside and having a pipe, unlike in the winter. It's starting to get where some days it's a little bit too warm and humid to really be all that comfortable, but it's bearable. The mosquitoes haven't come out. Eventually, it's going to get to where the mosquitoes in the backyard here, the back garden, are going to be not fun to deal with. Most of them don't come out during the day, but there's certain ones do. There's a certain species called, well, it used to be Aedes albopictus, although they've like reclassified the genus, so it's something else, albopictus now. But commonly called the Asian tiger mosquito. They're a kind of a small, very black and white mosquito, and those stupid things will come out in the day when the sun's shining. They're oftentimes kind of a urban sort of mosquito. They really love tire piles. The water that gets in those tires, not that we have any tires around here, but I'm not a fan of those stupid things. And yeah, 20 something years ago, I had a summer job, where we traveled around Kansas and trapped mosquitoes for West Nile testing. So that's why I actually know some mosquito species and I know their scientific names and stuff like that. I'm not a entomology expert by any means. That was an interesting summer job. I used to joke you'd kind of travel around the state of Kansas and search out some of the scuzziest little areas you could find in order to set up mosquito traps. Usually, what I tried to do, we trapped in not every county in Kansas by any means, but we would trap in certain counties. And I usually like to do the ones out in western Kansas because there was more driving. I'd rather be driving out there than sitting back in the lab at Manhattan at K State, like sorting through the mosquitoes and counting them and filing up the ones that we were going to test and stuff. I did that too, but being out driving on the road kept me from doing some of that. There's always plenty of it once we were back in town. But back then I had a a film SLR camera. I'd take that with me, and I would stop at interesting places and take pictures, and it was enjoyable. It's one of those type of jobs where at the time aspects of it could be, not maybe not so enjoyable, but it's the type of thing that after you're done with it, and you look back on it years later, you realize it actually was a pretty good deal, pretty good gig you had going, good summer job. A lot of good memories from it. One of the funny things is the town I live in now, Salina, Kansas, was one of the towns that we trapped at, and one of the places that we set up a trap. It's not very far away from here. And I never dreamed that, like, 20 years later, I would own a house, all of, I don't know, quarter mile away from that spot. Not only that, the first place we lived here in Salina for a number of years was not very far away at all. It was even closer to another trap site we used. It's one of those things you never know. Like, you might be doing something in a certain place, not even in the town you live in, and just you've never dreamed that, fast forward 20 years later, you'll be living like practically right next to that spot. And that wasn't that particular. Neither of these places are all that, nasty. It's not like some nasty swampland or anything like that. Just when you set up the traps, you had to. The main thing was you had to find a place where you could conceal them pretty well, like back in brush and trees and things, because they had a light on them that would shine at night and it would attract the mosquitoes. But people could see that, and sometimes people, if they can see the trap, they'll go mess with it, steal it, destroy it, something like that. So we had to try to hide them as best we could, which sometimes would arouse suspicions, obviously. My Zippo lighter works better than this one on a more consistent basis. Holding the camera with one hand and doing everything else with the other. But anyway, I think I'll draw this to a close. I'll try not to sit here and think too much more of mosquitoes because they'll make their presence known soon enough, unfortunately. Thanks for joining me. Codger on, everybody who's still chugging along the Great Codger Challenge. I'm Gareth with Flint Hills Briar. See you next time.